Who is Gen Z voting for and why? That was a question that I had today. So I went ahead and I scoured the internet and I looked for perspectives. I looked for Republican leaning perspectives as well as independent leaning perspectives and even Democratic leaning perspectives, just because I wanted to learn about these people's worldviews, what concerns them, and what they are genuinely thinking about in terms of this very critical election. And I just thought this would be a very valuable conversation. Anyways, let's dive into it. I don't want to waste any more time. Also, if you like having conversations like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. Now, check this out. I think this is going to be a really valuable conversation. Wow.
Who do you guys think you'll vote for?
I don't particularly love him, but Trump.
Trump? Okay.
Yeah, Trump too. But
Awesome.
he's not amazing, but he's the best option in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah.
Who do you think you'll be voting for?
I need to research it more, but at the moment it seems like out of the candidates we have, Trump seems to be the best in my opinion.
Why exactly is that?
It seemed while he was in office, a lot of good things were made, especially in the economy. Things were really good. It was easier to build homes, to purchase. So things just seemed better. Like positive improvements seemed to be made while he was in office.
Why do you think you guys will vote for Trump?
He'll help economically, and I'm very much Republican.
He's the closest aligned to my political views out of all of our options. So,
And what would you say your political views are?
I am not going to answer that just because I'm on video. I'm sorry.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you guys so much.
I love that one of the critical pain points
Who do you guys
for
think?
Gen Z voters is the economy. And you wonder why? Why? Because they're in school. They need to deal with student debt. They need to pay off those loans. And they're also looking at this job market saying, oh my gosh, is my degree actually going to be useful? Am I going to be able to find a job that'll I could actually use with this degree that'll actually pay for all these loans? And afterwards, am I going to be able to buy a home? Am I going to be able to raise a family? These are things that Gen Z voters are thinking about. That's why the economy is so important to them. And I just love that that perspective from those Republicans. It's a very conservative perspective, but I really value it. Another perspective, we just talked about this woman. I saw her on TikTok, Mally Mouse. That's her handle. And I really like this perspective as well. Check this out.
Okay, multiple things. First off, it's out in the open now that Kamala had predetermined talking points that she rehearsed, while also being reassured that she would never be fact-checked on anything, while Donald Trump would be fact-checked on everything. And if you look at every time she's had a chance to speak off script in the last 4 years, she has been nothing but a word salad nervous wreck. And even though she was still a nervous wreck this time, made of nothing but emotional bullshit, it was at least a little bit more coherent. So, obviously scripted. But on top of that, they actually thought that y'all would be dumb enough to go and vote because Taylor Swift told you to. Like, unless you are also a 34-year-old single childless cat lady pop star billionaire, then you should not be voting for who she's voting for. Because I bet you one thing, she is not struggling to pay her rent or get her groceries or feed her kids that she doesn't have. I mean, come on now. We all know that if we see any influencers online actually supporting Biden-Harris, then it's because they either look the part or they were paid to do it. Yeah, if anything, this makes me want to vote in the other direction as fast as possible.
Did you guys actually see there was actual polling data that suggests that Taylor Swift's endorsement for Kamala Harris actually repelled people to vote for her. Now people are voting for Trump because of that endorsement. So it looks like not all endorsements are good. Not all endorsements are created equally. So I thought that was a great perspective. And I saw this from Benny Johnson's new YouTube channel called Benny on the Block. And I just absolutely love the first 15 seconds. Check this out.
Trump or Kamala?
My opinion is not open to the public.
So, Trump. There you go. Okay.
And she turns around and says, that is right. 100%. I just wish that people weren't afraid to say what they actually think. I think it's so disgusting that we have people on the left who almost get elevated to the top because they're for Kamala, and then people on the right are almost afraid to say what they're thinking because they're afraid of getting canceled, because I just think that's disgusting and that needs to be stopped. So those were the Republican perspectives, and I really appreciated them. Now I want us to look into the independent mind, right? The silent majority, because as you guys know, over what 52% of people actually identify as an independent as of 2024. Absolutely insane. And I love this woman's perspective because according to the caption, she is a 22-year-old Gen Z. She was a Trump hater. She was a never Trumper. But now it looks like President Trump won her over. Let's find out why.
I'll be the first to admit that I was a Trump hater. I did not like Trump at all. I thought that he was the most racist human being on this earth. I didn't understand why people praised him as a president or wanted him to be elected in the first place. It's embarrassing to say that the media did get to me, that I believed all those lies they sold, not only them, but a bunch of influencers. Like I said, so embarrassing. But here we are 4 years later, and I can confidently say that the choice has never been more clear, and I will be voting for Trump come November 5th. I am only 22 years old. I understand that I am still young. But if you're somebody that used to be like me, that was a little bit more liberal or leaning towards Biden, just anybody really that wasn't Trump, I urge you to dig a little bit deeper. The main thing I was always told was, oh, you're Mexican. Trump is racist towards Mexicans, because somebody would show me a 2-second clip from an interview that was maybe an hour long. Dig a little bit deeper. There's always going to be minor things that we don't agree with, but this man loves this country. There's absolutely no denying that. He wants the best for it. He's going to secure our borders. He believes in immigration when done legally. He believes in keeping men out of women's sports. He wants to stop with the whole gender and politics in school nonsense. He will make America affordable again. I hope I can get married and have a family within the next 5 years, but that's not going to be possible if Biden or any Democrat gets elected into office. I can go on and on about why Trump is a man for the job come this November. And for the next 4 months until election, this account will be completely political. I'm going to do everything I can to be a voice for Trump, especially with Gen Z. Love you guys and everybody that follows me. Thanks for being here.
Are you kidding me? Did you hear those reasons? Immigration, keeping men out of women's sports, making America affordable again. These are great reasons. My goodness. Now that was coming from obviously an independent voter, and this is kind of the independent voter section of the video. And what I think is so fascinating is I actually think independent voters, they almost have to be playing both sides. They almost need to trust their convictions. They almost need to dig a little bit deeper. I love what she said, right? Because she spoke a lot about just encouraging people to dig deeper, especially the people who've essentially been lied to and manipulated by the media. Because she talked about being Mexican, and she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, people would play this 2-second clip of him just saying something mean, but it's like that the whole thing was over an hour long. And again, context is important, and that's more important for independent voters because they're dealing with so much noise. So I just love that a lot of independent voters just tend to be more critical thinkers here in this space. And look at this perspective from Trevor Abney. I really liked his perspective here.
I've been intentionally waiting to announce who I'm voting for president until I did my research. As an independent voter, I wanted to make sure I knew everything there is to know about both candidates so I could make my vote count. And after doing hours and hours of research, I've decided that I am voting for Donald Trump in the 2024 election. So if you're interested in hearing how I came to my decision, stick around. Let's start with the obvious reasons. If Trump wanted to fuck up America like the media and everyone else says he wants to.
You know what's crazy to me? I'm gonna let this whole video play out, but I think it's so wild that if you just say you're voting for Kamala, really no one bats an eye at all, right? They're like, okay, cool, good job. Yes, influencer, please use your platform to vote for Kamala. But if you say that you're voting for Trump, it's like you almost need to be prepared for the backlash. So you need to have a list of reasons as to why. And that's what I mean when I say that the people who tend to be voting for Trump just they just they just are more informed. They just care more. They do more research. They prepare for the backlash. They anticipate all this, and it just creates a higher quality voter. And also a higher quality voter is more likely to turn out, which again, I know like younger people generally don't turn out in for elections, but higher quality voters, the people who do the research, there's no way that someone who's going to research 10, 20 hours on a candidate and then not vote. Are you kidding me? But the Kamala voter, the person who just watches a 10-second brat video on TikTok from Kamala HQ, I don't know how likely they are to actually vote when something in their life, when something inconvenient happens on that day. Like, I just don't know. But this person, the person who actually wrote an entire like spreadsheet breaking down the reasons for their vote, you tell me.
He would have just done it in his first term. And if Kamala wanted to help America, she would have done it in her first term, but it's got nothing but worse. Secondly, shit was just better under Trump, and I feel like it's kind of hard to disagree with that. 5 years ago, I was paying $1,300 a month in rent. Now I'm paying $2,100 a month. 5 years ago, I was paying $210 for car insurance. Now I'm paying $420 a month in car insurance. Those are just surface level reasons. Now I want to go over policies that I like that Donald Trump wants to implement if he wins the presidency this year. First and foremost, no tax on tips and no tax on overtime hours. I feel like it goes without saying why I would like that policy. Who wouldn't? Secondly, I like that Donald Trump wants to create a Department of Government Efficiency to combat wasteful government spending and to stop the funding of foreign wars. It has been going on for way too damn long. The government has been spending our taxpayer money on shit that does not help us in the least bit. We have homeless American veterans. We have homeless people in general. We have 90% of America living paycheck to paycheck, yet we're sending trillions of dollars to fund foreign wars. It doesn't make sense, and it needs to stop. I also love that Donald Trump wants to implement Robert F. Kennedy Jr. into his administration to combat and improve autism, obesity, anxiety, depression, and low testosterone in men. These are things that have been on the rise for decades now, and we need to figure out why it's happening and how to improve it. The last section of this video is things that Donald Trump did in his first term in office that I love. First and foremost, in 2017, Donald Trump signed a bill to provide $255 million a year in funding for HBCUs. Donald Trump also signed a bill that allocated $200 million a year in grants for women and minorities in STEM and computer sciences. Throughout Donald Trump's first term, middle-class family income increased $6,000 on average, and he achieved 40 months in a row with more job openings than hirings. The average income rose in every single inner city in the United States for the first time in 30 years. From 2016 to 2020, Black home ownership increased from 41.7% to 6.4%. Unemployment for women hit a 70-year low, and America gained 7 million new jobs, more than 3 times government experts' projections. Donald Trump also signed the First Step Act of 2018, which freed nearly 30,000 Black and minority inmates for nonviolent offenses like marijuana charges. Now, I don't want to make this video 10 minutes long, but I have hundreds of other notes that I've taken on my reasoning why I am voting for Donald Trump. But one thing that I want to know after watching this video, if you're an independent voter, who are you voting for? And
Are you kidding? What great reasons. What an informed voter. Every single person who's going to the ballot station in November should absolutely be doing this kind of research. I absolutely love it. Good for this person. The next perspective that I wanted to share was from another independent voter who a lot of people might know from her RFK Jr. content and other political stuff. Also, huge shout out to this guy. Like, RFK Jr. got a major shout out here because obviously RFK Jr. is going to be working with President Trump to end the chronic disease epidemic. So that's going to be really, really exciting. And it seems like a lot of independent voters love Kennedy. We love it. Now, Lauren Lee, she said, because recently she was talking about, obviously voting for Trump, but I love this reasoning here because she really broke it down because recently she was on Benny Johnson's show because she's saying that he was pretty much saying that, oh yeah, like this never Trumper is finally voting for Trump, da 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 da. But she became a little bit more specific here. She says, I have a few comments in response to Benny's segment on me. RFK Jr., not JD Vance, convinced me that the Republican Party is worth voting for. My openness to tolerating old remnants of the neoconservative talking points is due to solely to him and the astonishing success of Maha, Make America Great Again. Somehow, without being elected, without even being on the ticket, RFK Jr. mobilized the entire Republican Party to protect American children from corporate greed. Is now holding hearings on chronic disease. People are learning the truth about profit-fueled COVID-era mandates. Moms are aghast to find out glyphosate is in food marketed to kids. Nutrition is suddenly a conversation in America. Remarkably impressive. But here's what's even more amazing. Maha is opening Pandora's box. We absolutely love to see it. Look at this. This is the beauty of being an independent. If Republicans continue to acknowledge and lean into this historic party realignment, I believe most of us will vote for Trump in November. Look at that. Another independent voter who is voting for President Trump, a Gen Z voter, I might add. Now, I know a lot of these perspectives have been obviously in favor of Trump, and some people are criticizing me for being biased. And to that I say, like, when have I ever said that I'm unbiased? I've always been clear here. I do have bias, of course. Are you kidding? So, anyways, here's the thing though. I'm just clear about my bias. Like I tell people, I tell you guys the truth. You respond with something, I respond back, and I'm really honest about where I come from. But I always try to be respectful with other people's opinions. And like I said, I did want to give Democrats the position here as well. This is from a Democrat leaning Gen Z voter on her thoughts on this election. Check it out.
I'm never going to vote Trump. I will never do that. I just turned 18, and I remember in 5th grade when he started running, I didn't like him then. I didn't like him during January 6th. I never did. I like my rights. And I'm willing to vote Kamala Harris to make that happen. I think also to be able to say, like, if she does become president, that would be a very historic thing for this country. And I think that would be an incredible accomplishment to conquer at this time. Because right now, at least, we've had a lot of fails. We need more ups. She's a woman. She's a person of color. She's very smart. She can argue. She can put up a debate. She has charisma. She has moxie. I think she would be a good representation of the country. I would want her to represent me. There are some things that, like, I don't like how she is with the police force. I think that's very, Eric Adams style. I think if we really want to fix things with that stuff, though, like, she needs to make prisons more of maybe, I'd say, a rehabilitation center. Because right now, I think, especially, like, even detention centers, stuff like that, they shouldn't have to be like that. They should be housings, and they should be places for people to take care of themselves and find jobs and just better themselves as people.
I love how on both sides of the aisle you see people like on Republicans, they're like, I don't agree necessarily with everything that President Trump has ever said. Like, I don't think he maybe is the best representation here, but he has still earned my vote. And also with this Kamala Harris voter, like, I don't necessarily agree how she treats the prison force. I don't necessarily value that perspective. This is what I think is a better idea, but she has still earned my vote. And these are just excellent reasons. Some people criticize them like, oh, maybe they're voting too much out of vibes, don't necessarily agree with it, but that's always going to exist on both sides. Nonetheless, this is a Democrat leading Gen Z voter. Now, I have a couple other things that I wanted to show. Like, there's this other creator, Harry Sisson, who I believe he's 22. Yeah, he's 22, so very clearly Gen Z. And I guess I'll play this video just real quick, but he is obviously voting for Kamala Harris and encouraging other people to do the same thing.
All right, if I make this throw, you got to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Ready? You're 19. Yeah. All right, now if I make this throw, you got to vote for Donald Trump and JD Vance. Let's go. Ready, set, oi. Oh, man. Well, you got to do it.
So I do also want to give a little bit of context here, and part of the reason why I saved this video for the end and why I'm probably not going to be sharing more perspective from him is because I just don't think this is adequately representative of the Democratic base, because for the most part, like, it just suggests that him as well as this person, Chris Mowry, who is next to him, I believe, are paid for by the DNC. Like, they're not paid to give their actual political commentary on what's happening. They're paid to push a very specific agenda. Look at this. This is almost $250,000 for pushing the Biden-Harris administration. And none of these videos say that they're sponsored. None of them have a disclosure. And to me, that's just disgusting, not fair. But they are still Gen Z, Democrat-leaning voters, and they are reaching a crazy amount of, I'm assuming, a Gen Z audience. So I think that's wild. There's also this other creator who I was going to mention, but then I decided not to. I actually thought this person was around my age. Her name's V, but she's not. She hosts this show called Under the Desk News, which I actually really appreciate a lot of their content. I think it's great, but she's 42 years old. So obviously not Gen Z. And that's why that's why I didn't want to really include her here. Although I think she does kind of align with them a lot. I think she kind of has this Gen Z mentality, for better or for worse. But I do think that's interesting. Anyways, that's the video. Let me know what you thought about it. We saw ideas and values represented by Republican-leaning Gen Z voters, as well as independent-leaning Gen Z voters, as well as Democrat-leaning Gen Z voters. And I think all these perspectives are valuable in their own way, but I want to know what you thought about it. What do you think the Gen Z vote is going to be significantly impactful in a meaningful way come November? Or do you think voter turnout is going to be kind of absent for this age range? Or do you think, kind of as I mentioned earlier in this video, do you think that in terms of voters who are more invested in their candidate and spends more time actually developing many reasons for why they're voting? Like, look at this guy. Look at all those reasons. That's crazy. This could have been like a 20-minute video. But so do you think that it's going to be skewed? Do you think maybe voters who are leaning a little bit more conservative in terms of their values in this election, do you think that turnout is going to be higher among Gen Z than it is for Gen Z voters who are leaning towards Kamala Harris? I think there's an argument to be made there. Anyways, let me know what you thought about all this. Let me know what you think about the Gen Z vote. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate your time so much, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to support what we're building here, please like and subscribe. It means a lot, and it really helps us out. And if you want to see even more content from me, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be sharing a lot more on there. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.